everybody. Welcome back to Up and Away, a comic book movie review and news podcast. My name is Joe Gilpin. I am joined, as always, by my brother,
Matt.
How are you, Matt? God damn it, it's already off the rails entirely.
No, it's good.
How are you? You doing well?
I'm good.
Wonderful. We are also joined today, again, by our wonderful sister,
Melissa!
And that is the sound of her voice. How are you, Melissa?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. We are happy to have you back. Last week's episode was well received, so thank you for coming back. Today we are going to talk about a classic comic book movie in every sense of the word, the 1978 Richard Donner classic, Superman the Movie.
Yeah.
Very much looking forward to this movie and looking forward to this entire series. Some movies way more than others, but this broke a lot of ground for comic book movies in general.
Absolutely it did.
This was the first time it was even conceivable to have the level of effects that they have.
I would say it might be the most groundbreaking superhero movie.
I would agree with that, yeah. Everything comes through this.
Mm-hmm.
Everything comes through this. 100%. You don't have Batman without this.
No, absolutely, yeah.
And without them doing as good a job as they did, and without it being the critical and commercial success that it was. I'm assuming it was a commercial and critical success, Matt.
Yeah.
Do you want to go through the baseball card stats on this movie?
Sure. As you said, this movie was directed by Richard Donner. It had a screenplay written by Mario Puzo, David Newman, Leslie Newman, and Robert Benton. It had
interesting that it had that many writers.
For, not a whole lot of plot.
Well, that means it went through a bunch of different drafts.
Right, yeah.
So.
Yeah, interesting that also, of note, for this movie, this is the movie that got a lot of credit given back to the original Superman creators of Siegel and Schuster. They were basically destitute by the time this movie came out because they had been completely fucked in the contractual process.
Yeah.
They had signed away all their rights because they were just working on a day-to-play kind of contract.
Weren't they working in, the mailroom?
One of them was working in the mailroom of Marvel Comics, if I remember correctly.
That's nuts.
And they basically sued, and it was such a headache for DC that they just went ahead and gave them back the credit, because they couldn't do anything without everybody bringing it up.
Yeah, they were virtually shamed into doing it.
Yeah. Good job, guys. We actually did something good on this one. Yeah. We fucking managed to get one out there.
Right.
Good for us.
It's crazy that it took. How long did that take?
78 from 36 or whatever. So
40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was about then. Yeah.
And it's crazy that Batman had something similar.
Yeah, I know. It's really crazy. There's a really good book on it. I'll look up the name of it.
In regards to Bob Kane and Bill Finger.
I think that has to do with how the industry was at the time. It was so easy to just get this talent and just throw them
their work.
Throw them some peanuts, and they just sign their rights away.
Yeah, that's sad.
And they didn't know any better. They were 18-year-old kids.
Oh yeah. And economies in the toilet.
Yeah, especially back in the 30s.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And war.
Mm-hmm.
This had been preceded, of course, by the Superman serials. I have a very early, cartoons.
Yes.
I have a very early memory of me watching those cartoons.
Yeah, we had those on
VHS, I would guess. Yeah.
Those still hold up.
They're very beautifully
they're very beautifully animated. The stories are whatever. It's a lot of Superman fighting big robots.
Well, look at the common, nowadays plots.
No, that's fair.
They're not,
yeah, it's not 1,000 miles away.
This movie had a budget.
By the way, that book I mentioned, a very good book on it from all reports, haven't read it myself, by Drew Friedman, Heroes of the Comics, Portraits of the Pioneers.
Cool. This movie had a budget of $55 million.
Very high.
Yeah, very high, especially for the time.
Do you want to guess the intake? I'm going to guess that this movie made 110.
No, way more.
Ooh, 200?
Way more.
How much money did this goddamn movie make, Matt?
300.
This movie made $300 million. That's a crazy huge success for them. And this movie was basically sold off of come watch Superman fly.
Do you believe a man can fly?
Do you believe a man can fly? It was such a big deal because it was the first big special effects kind of thing.
Exactly. I was going to say it's an effects movie.
Yeah. It was the Michael Bay movie of its time.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Snuck in a good way.
Except this one had heart.
Yeah.
And a lead who's not a monster.
Oh, yeah, no. Christopher Reeve is a great actor.
Yeah. He makes this movie.
Yeah, Reeve is amazing.
Absolutely.
I don't think this movie is near as like thought of as highly as it is without Christopher Reeve.
No.
If you throw any just dude who kind of looks like that out there, I don't think you capture the same kind of magic that this one did. It's 40 years later, and it's still, I would say, most people's favorite Superman movie. From what we hear,
that's true.
A lot of people.
A lot of that might be nostalgia. I would be, I would question a lot of those people. How recently have you seen it?
Yeah, personally, it's not mine,
but it's still great.
It's still great. Yeah.
No, I think that just Christopher Reeve has so much personal charisma.
Yeah.
And I think people just, and maybe it has something to do with he had the accident, and I think it
has something to do with it. I mean, it's unavoidable to
Yeah.
That occurred.
The irony.
Yeah. People love Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, and his whole family, for that matter.
True. By the way, Christopher Reeve, not remotely top billed. He was like third billed in the credit sequence.
He is third billed in this movie. He's right above Ned Beatty.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. And Margot Kidder, who plays Lois Lane, way the hell down there.
Yeah, I can believe that.
I can't. She's Lois Lane.
That's fair.
You want to guess the Rotten Tomatoes score?
For this movie, I'm going to guess it's relatively high. I'm going to go 85.
It's more than that.
Stop telling her, because now she looks smart.
If you know us, you know she's smarter than you already.
91.
How dare you?
Close, 93.
Oh, man.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's great. That's fantastic, actually, of course.
It's what I would expect to guess, so I'm hovering around there.
All right.
It's close to Spider-Man 2, if not right on the nose what Spider-Man 2 did.
That'd be an interesting list. See what's the highest rate is. Probably The Dark Knight. Highest rated Rotten Tomatoes.
Civil War is going to be pretty high.
Civil War is going to be pretty high, too, yeah.
Actually, I think Iron Man 1 is a higher Rotten Tomatoes score than Civil War.
Really?
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
and that is retarded. That is very...
Not right.
Yeah. So, you want to hop right into it?
I say we hop right into our beat-by-beat breakdown of Superman, the movie.
The movie, as a lot of origin Superman movies go, it's one.
By the way, we ended up watching, for anybody, we ended up watching the Richard Donner cut. So if you want to watch the movie beforehand, I know some people do that, and then they watch the movie that we're talking about. We watched the Richard Donner cut. So
we don't know how different that is.
Yeah.
So the movie starts on Krypton.
Yes.
And well, first it starts with.
It starts with like a dramatic black and white kind of play style opening, where it basically introduces us to a very basic comic style read of the origin of Superman.
Yeah, it's like a child reading it, and the shot's fading to the Daily Planet and up into the skies, Metropolis.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you have to get across who Superman is in 3 sentences to someone with a head injury. Go. And that's how they get across who this Superman is.
Yeah. And then
it launches into the Krypton stuff.
Well, and then it launches into the title sequence.
Yes, which took forever.
And I was furious that this title sequence took seemingly like 10 minutes.
It took a long time. People used to have a lot more patience than they have now, because if a title sequence is 30 seconds, I'm pretty mad these days.
Like, I know. Superman, like, Christopher Reeve, like, Gene Hackman, like, let's go.
Even for me now, I'm like, hurry it up, Jessica Jones. Really don't have time for this. Let's keep it moving.
So yeah, then they finally show us Krypton is the homeworld of a highly evolved race of beings who look like humans.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And they share like a unique molecular density and structure as a result of the planet's gravitational strength and the radiation of its red sun.
Yes.
And you know where a lot of that comes from is from the Edgar Rice Burroughs book, John Carter.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Which was a enormous bomb of a movie, but a pretty good
Not
movie.
that movie's
You
fault.
guys are both high on that movie. I have yet to see it, but you're
That's
both very, very
good.
high on that movie.
It's pretty good.
This scene stars, all the Krypton stuff stars Jor-El, as played by a huge git at the time, Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
He's the biggest actor on the planet.
Yeah.
And he does an okay job.
Yeah,
we can talk about him at the end.
He's Brandoing it up.
Yeah, he's Brandoing it up. I think the Kryptonians throughout this scene, they do a really good job, set design wise, of looking advanced and creepy.
Yeah.
In what's really a pretty bare bones set.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you look around towards the edges of everything, there's nothing really going on.
There's no furniture.
There's no furniture. There's only like 1 or 2 things in each scene. But I think it's good in like this black box kind of theater way of letting you fill in everything else. Because you are. And it starts with a trial.
Your head, your mind will create something more extravagant than they can show you.
Yes.
That's right, yeah.
They show us that the planet is ruled by a council of elders, each representing a particular clan and bearing a chest of that house. It's very Game of Thronesy. The planet's greatest scientist is Jor-El, played by Marlon Brando, who has an S-shaped crest.
Yes.
That is their family crest. And that is the House of El. So Jor-El is supervising the trial of 3 criminals caught attempting to overthrow the planet's government. This, of course, being led by General Zod.
Yes. Very interesting. Please.
He's got a ton of powder on his face.
Oh my God, he's powdered out to there.
That Terrence Stamp.
Terrence Stamp.
He is on that old-timey cotillion lady makeup plan.
He was the planet's former defense chief. He has a henchman, Nan, who is a big...
He's their Oliver North. I think it's fair to say. General Zod's a very Oliver North type.
He really is. Yeah.
Nan, who...
Oliver North is watching this movie like, I get it.
Yeah, he was taking notes at the time.
That's what inspired it all.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, I got this Iran Contra thing coming up.
Nan can't speak, and...
selling arms to the Kandorians.
And Ursa, a woman determined to exterminate men other than the one that she loves, Zod. So, sorry, Nan, you're gonna die.
Kick rocks. His dad was in the Mafia, by the way, the actor.
As the elders render a guilty verdict, Zod knows that the verdict must be unanimous. So he basically tells Jor-El, like, oh, what are you gonna do? Like, your morality's too high. You're not gonna say guilty. But then he does say guilty. And so there was supposed to feel like a moment that didn't really like, oh, Jor-El said guilty. But it was just like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Brando did because I think Brando's thing was almost Spock-like reason.
Stoic.
Very stoic, so he never was able... I mean, it's a very emotional moment. You don't have a long time to build up to it. You kind of need to ramp it up a little bit, but for the character he was playing, he just never got off the runway with it.
I wonder if the method acting, because he's, Brando famously a method actor, didn't really work for this kind of character.
Like the sci-fi style, that
exactly.
makes sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the grit that he would be able to.
Yeah, nothing for him to work with.
Latch onto, exactly.
Well, and I don't want to do this the whole movie, but he's one of 2 actors to play Jor-El, because he also reprised the role, kind of, in Superman Returns.
I think you didn't say he reprised it, yeah.
Well, they took footage. I mean, he didn't come back.
Superman 2, you mean?
Superman Returns.
Superman Returns.
Oh.
Like
The Brandon Routh
2007 one.
Oh,
he played Jor-El in that.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Because I heard
Don't.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I told you not to do that movie.
Yeah, I think you did.
We're going to have to again.
I know.
I rewatch it.
I've seen that movie once. I've tried to watch it 2 more times, and I fall asleep at the same point both times. But we also had Russell Crowe play Jor-El. And I think they just gave him more to do.
Oh, Russell Crowe? Yeah. We're not going to spend a lot of time in this movie talking about Man of Steel.
Right.
I think that would detract from this conversation.
Exactly. But I just wanted to bring that up, how I think that it is weird that they got Brando. Marlon Brando is one of the greatest actors of all time.
Sure.
But they don't give him a whole lot to do.
Yeah.
And it's not disappointing because it's still like, that's dope as shit. They got Marlon Brando. And I think he does a good enough job. But it would be interesting to see if they gave him a Russell Crowe-like arc for him to take while Krypton is dealing with its civil war, essentially. So we see that the 3, Zod, Nan, and Ursa, they're found guilty of treason, basically, and they get sentenced to the Phantom Zone. So
which Jor-El discovered.
Yeah. And so this big triangle comes out of the sky, and basically...
It's a very advanced prison.
Yeah. And imprisons them inside that triangle.
Almost like a mirror,
Yeah. And they're like, let us out. And so that tumbles out of the sky, and they're just begging forgiveness. And Zod swears that he will have vengeance on the House of El, even if it takes 1,000 years. And this is when you noted something about this and what this means for the future.
Go on.
About how it's crazy that the first movie starts
by setting up the sequel, yes.
Yeah.
It's very odd to start out a franchise by setting up a future movie. You don't set any groundwork for the movie you're in yet. You're only planting seeds at the beginning of this one.
It's really interesting.
That's a very odd structural choice, but I think it does okay.
Oh, I think it works.
I think it's really,
And I think this is honestly, what other heroes could you do that with?
Almost none.
Almost none.
Maybe Batman, you set up somebody while he's parent, but right before his parents get shot.
No, that was...
You could set up like a Penguin style thing. They kind of do that in the Earth 1 Batman comic series, but that comic series has a lot of problems.
Maybe Wonder Woman?
Maybe, yeah, it's really tough.
Something with Ares, yeah, I mean, it's
X-Men kind of does that with...
I'm trying to think X-Men, yeah.
Professor X kind of has it with Apocalypse.
Oh, Apocalypse. Oh, yeah.
A little bit,
with
right.
Going with...
into the Shadow Realm. In Egypt, a little bit.
Yeah.
Really plopping my nerd dick down on the table here, guys.
So while those three criminals get sentenced to the Phantom Zone, Jor-El reveals that he is more concerned with the orbital shift of Krypton.
Yes.
He is saying the shift is putting the planet into the fatal gravitational pull of its central star, a fact that the Council of Elders just are like, that's not true.
Yeah, they don't believe it.
It's like
despite him being the premier scientist of the planet.
Yeah. They forbid him from warning the larger populace, or he himself will be imprisoned in the Phantom Zone. And he promises to be silent on it, and that he and his wife will not attempt to leave the planet.
Yes. Couple of things here. First of all, they keep using the same word throughout this discussion, and that is the word reason. You have to be reasonable, reason with us. This is, you haven't reasoned correctly here. They use that word a lot in this scene. Do you think Jor-El is being reasonable with his concern and with his approach to doing this?
Well, you mean approach to telling them?
Like how he's telling them, and he's told them in the past, but he's not really raising any alarms, and he isn't being as firm as he maybe could be.
Well, I think he's being a good citizen. I think he knows his place in the pecking order, and he knows that they're the Council of Elders, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all he can do is warn them. He can't make them agree, and I don't think he's going to go behind their backs, even though he knows that it will mean the end of their world. I think he's just that good of a citizen, I guess. Maybe he's being like a Boy Scout.
That's a very good way to put it.
Yeah.
I agree. Small fan theory that occurs. Jor-El knew if he sentenced Zod to death, he was going to be sent off planet. Do you think that may have been to keep his friend Zod safe?
No. Why would he keep Zod safe?
Because he knows that he is a strong Kryptonian that might be able to help later.
But he also swore vengeance on his house.
Yeah, it was after. And I'm not saying it's necessarily true, but I think it's an interesting thing to discuss.
Any
thoughts on that?
Let me just say one quick thing. I don't think it's established well enough that they're friends.
That's fair. I'm saying, no, this is completely fan headcanon. There's nothing to support this, but it could be read this way.
Sure. Most of you.
Anything on that?
What I was thinking, I think that you could read a climate change metaphor in this.
Yeah, there's a big climate change metaphor, even though that wasn't even really a thing.
No,
it's
there was a little bit of that.
It's us reading it.
Absolutely.
Looking back,
40 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very much so. About that's the obvious metaphor here. Yeah, is that our climate is changing, and that's a big problem. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of people who are not believing our top scientists.
Right, exactly.
It's almost a 1-for-1 correlation.
We're going to send a baby off into another planet.
Yes.
He will become a Superman. So instead of leaving the planet himself, Jor-El decides to construct a crystalline starship for his infant son, Kal-El, which is what you do.
Yes.
That's my first thought.
The ultimate sacrifice for their son. And he's very certain of his plan.
Yeah, he's just like, this is what's going to happen.
Surprising. He's like, this is definitely what's going to occur. We definitely are going to send him off.
He's
definitely going to land at this exact spot at this exact time. Mm-hmm. And this will be perfect for this kid.
He's going to be super strong.
This is his best bet.
He's not going to land in the ocean.
Yeah, no, he'll never land in the ocean. Or maybe
Aquaman could have found him.
Hit by a goddamn asteroid on the way around. Yeah, there's no... Or it's not like we're going to send him off and be sitting here in 3 weeks like, shit, maybe I was wrong.
I mean, even if he's, like, the greatest scientist to ever exist, things can go wrong.
No, yeah, you would only be able to say with this amount of certainty. Right. Yeah, he's just very certain of his plan.
Yeah, do you like, go get him? If the world didn't
Shit.
Driving there to go get him.
Ah, man, that'd be great. Especially if he didn't tell Lara.
Yeah.
It's right in the nick of time, too. The moment that baby is away, the planet falls apart. The world melts and collapses.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It's really well done effects-wise. It really holds up. It's beautifully lit with this stark red lighting. And it's a good shaky camera. You can have shaky camera that's terrible. This is pretty good.
Yeah. And he also, before they sent the ship off, Jor-El puts this green crystal inside of it, which I at first thought, because I hadn't seen this movie in a while, I was like, did he just put kryptonite in that starship?
Mm-hmm.
It's very Codex-like. It reads very Codex-like from Man of Steel.
Yeah, to put that into context. That's what we thought of it as after I was making fun of Jor-El for putting the only thing that could hurt his son in his starship.
Everyone wanted him getting cocky.
He's like one of those
We all know
shitty
parents
football
like
dads. And what was also weird was when the ship was zooming off into space, it passed the Phantom Zone triangle.
It did pass the Phantom Zone triangle. And Dad was like, that goddamn asshole kid.
Yeah, he was like, "Arr!" Like a Scooby-Doo villain.
I'll get you, meddling kid.
On his trip, they baby Einstein the shit out of Kal-El.
He is growing.
Yeah, it's like...
That's where they got the idea for baby Einstein.
That's a bad idea. It's just all old Brando tape. Because, it's Marlon Brando just, like, narrating, like, this is what an atom is, and this is what a stop sign is.
And he's, like, growing. He's like...
Yeah, and he ends up being, like, a 4 or 5-year-old kid by the time he lands
3.
on Earth. Is he 3? Okay.
Yeah. And he lands in Smallville, Kansas. And this is in the year 1941. And they didn't give us a year?
Is it? No, is that in the plot synopsis that it's 1931? That's
1941.
1941. Yeah, I'm not sure that was ever established for us. Maybe because the reading from the beginning of the play starts in it says 1938.
Oh, maybe.
And they're just reading off of that.
Right. Or maybe a newspaper also said the date.
Possible.
But we missed that if that's the case.
I think it's best to unstick Superman from time as much as possible, but that is a personal opinion.
Yes.
And all of the heroes, for that matter.
Sure. Him more than most, because it's very easy just to stick him in the 50s.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Back in his prime.
The spaceship is found by Jonathan and Martha Kent, and upon seeing... They see a little child climb out of it. A butt-naked child. Yeah, by the way, naked 3-year-old. For sure that's a guy who's walking around who $300 million worth of people saw his little baby dick. And that's for sure says that some of that to pay for his therapy. Yeah.
It was just that was people had no problem with a naked little kid. If the kid was under 5, it was run around naked.
Yeah.
That's I mean...
Is that great again?
I remember I was, not to sound too cool, but I was the yearbook editor when I was in high school. And people would just...
Calm down, guys.
People would just give us pictures of, their, for the, back pages, people would, buy ad space of,
Yeah, we're going to buy a page and dedicate it to our child. Yeah. Hey, we're proud of you. Mm-hmm, all that. Or a quarter page, half a page.
Naked pictures of their kids.
Yeah.
We'd have to crop it. And we'd have to crop so many of those, naked kid pictures. I couldn't believe it.
Might as well just, have a dick pic you took a week ago. It's the same thing, basically. Aww. And we see that little Kal-El, he has a feat of strength. He lifts up the truck.
Yeah.
And it's he's a gift from God. And
It's only when they find out that he is superpowered that Jonathan agrees to take him in. Yeah, I thought that was a little odd. It was very uncomfortable for me because, Martha immediately was like, we could take him in, and here's a story we could tell.
They could be like sisters.
My sister's kid, and she died or whatever. And nobody, she's gonna get so many oh my God, Martha, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. And Jonathan's like, I really don't know. That's a lot to do. And then he sees this kid pick up the car. He's like, jackpot. Takes him right in.
Come and see the strong boy.
It's just a carnival barker right outside his house.
He's juggling cars.
I mean, Smallville looks like a shitty little town, so I wouldn't put it past him. So the scene shifts immediately to 15 years later, and he is now Clark Kent, a student at Smallville High School, and he is a water boy on the football team.
Yeah.
I guess because he just realizes he can't play, just because he's better than everybody.
Yeah, no, they kind of put it out there later that Jonathan is, like, trying to make sure he keeps his powers as under wraps as possible.
I'm not gonna...
For sure, almost impossible for a teenager, by the way, not to show
he would
off.
just, like, accidentally, like... You know.
Oh, hey, ladies. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just lifting up these desks.
Oh, you think... Oh, just to be bragging? I think...
Yeah.
I just mean, like, he would just, accidentally, like, lift up a...
Oh, no, I did it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Or sneeze and break everything.
Exactly. Just because teenagers are clumsy.
Yeah. Also, like, I'm just saying, if I was Superman, I would play all of the sports. I'm sorry, y'all are getting dunked on.
He was a 15-sport all-star in high school.
Yeah. I would be the #1 draft pick in every sport. And I would play every sport simultaneously.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'd be like Bo Jackson times a billion.
Yeah. Well, no, but in this movie, he is shown to be a little reckless in, like, a teenager kind of way.
Yeah, he like when Lana Lang, who we see, her jock boyfriend Brad, I don't know if he ever got named, but he's Brad in this. He is like, oh,
I believe both of them will come back in Superman 3, if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay, fair enough. They're both like, oh.
If I remember correctly, they're both unhappily married.
They're both, they're just like, oh, bye, Clark, wash those jock straps, bitch. And they leave, and out of anger, he punts a football like 4,000 yards.
It like soars past a plane.
And they're like, that ball would just pop.
Yeah, you were very mad about that.
I'm a sports buff. Like, that ball would just pop. If Superman was mad and did something, whatever he hit would explode.
Sure, but then as everybody flies away...
Or they drive away.
They drive away. Clark decides he knows where they're going. He's going to take a different route, and he just sprints his ass and gets there a little bit before them.
Yeah,
it's almost in a way to try to play it cool, like I mentioned.
Like,
nah, I just jogged here, no big deal.
Yeah.
Like,
ran.
And they're like, you're fucking weird. And they all leave.
Yeah.
But while he was running, he outran a train. And Joe, who was on that train?
Just Lois Lane, because this universe has 3 people in it, of course.
And she was a little girl.
Yeah.
She's like 6.
Yeah, she was 6 years old, and then Margot Kidder. For sure something doesn't add up there plot timeline-wise.
She's older than Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, unless we're supposed to believe that Superman is like 70. It doesn't quite or he's like in his 50s he would have to be or something.
Something for that to make sense. He's supposed to be playing older than her.
The timeline doesn't go 1-to-1.
But that's alright. So, yeah, like you said, Clark returned home. It's like, yeah, I just ran here. Yeah. And he did. That was Clark's house. They were driving by his house, and so his father, Jonathan, is basically like, "You're here for a reason,
his stepdad.
Clark." Yeah, his stepdad. You're not my real dad. And he's like, "You're here for a reason, son." He's like, "Don't let outside noises bother you. Like, you rule, dude." Paraphrasing. And so Clark feels better, and as he starts to play with the dog, like in the barn, like Martha Kent is like knitting, and Clark is just like, what to do? He's like playing with the dog. Jonathan dies.
Yeah, he just kind of lays down and dies in the very beginning of this movie.
He checks his pulse.
Yeah, he's like, oh boy, checks his pulse, and then just like lays down on the ground, and then we hear, oh no, and the scene cuts to his funeral.
See, it would have been much more powerful if, like, Clark heard his heartbeat.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. That would have
been he raced over to him really quick, and like before he hit the ground, Clark
grabbed him or something. Yeah, that would have been cool. And Clark, this is an interesting moment because he feels like he was powerless to stop this. Despite being so powerful and so capable at so many things, there is so much of life that he can't protect or defend.
Yeah, he's powerless against death.
Yes.
Yeah, against a lot of death. Like just internally, heart attacks, strokes, aneurysms. Like, what can Superman do? There's nothing. And that's a limitation for him. And we don't know how much he's been limited.
He's now alone again in this new way, where he feels like he has to mature. And he has to go out and become who he's supposed to be. No more foot races and footballs. Get to work, kid.
And this is around the time the plot got a little wonky.
It starts to get a little hazy.
So
you have to start to view it like a Magic Eye puzzle, where you just kind of relax your eyes and look off into the middle. Well, you have a shitty eye.
Yeah, I'm blind in one eye.
Clark, one morning after the funeral, sometime later, is awakened by a mysterious noise coming from the barn, and he enters it and finds that there remains of a meteor. With it, the now activated, basically, not hologram, but like piece of Jor-El.
Yes, the Codex.
Yeah.
I'm going to refer to it as the Codex.
Sure.
Yeah, it's his ship, and he only finds it now that the funeral is completed, and he has this brand new understanding.
And he tells his mother, he's like, I have to go to North.
Yeah.
And it's like, alright.
Like he's a goddamn bird.
with a mag in his brain.
It really kind of plays like this, because from here on he's going to do a couple of things where it's like, we have no idea why he did this.
Yeah.
Other than we know that in the comics he's supposed to do this.
Yeah.
And it's the only motivation we ever get for a lot of stuff coming up. And that's a big problem, I think, in this movie. It's a huge plot hole. And it happens in Man of Steel, too. Not to bring up that.
Sure, no, yeah, that happened there, too.
He just goes to Antarctica.
Yeah, he just happens to be in Antarctica when they find the ship.
Yeah, well, in this movie, the next thing is he
goes to the North Pole. Yeah, and
goes up.
He takes the green crystal, and he, basically, he just throws it.
Yeah, he walks out onto an ice floe and just throws that green crystal, not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing if this is the right place to do it.
It melts into the ice.
There's a moment where he's like, ah, shit.
Ah, should I not have done that? That is really funny.
This is a whole lot of nothing. By the way, still no Christopher Reeve yet, still teenage Clark.
Yeah, this is still the 18-year-old Clark Kent.
And then it
builds
erupts into the
Fortress of Solitude.
Fortress of Solitude.
It's like, alright, whatever. That's really bizarre, but whatever.
Yeah.
And inside, Clark finds a matrix table of crystals. Placing one into a part of it, he activates basically a dimensional communicator that reveals the preserved consciousness of Jor-El, his real father.
Yeah, and this is a little bit more one-for-one than some other Supermans we've gotten. It's just kind of a recording of Jor-El that he has. It's not his full consciousness so much as it's like a voicemail.
Well, no, he's talking to him.
Oh, is he answering questions?
Yeah.
He does answer some questions, yeah. So that is a little uncomfortable, but you kind of accept it's alien technology.
Sure, they're highly advanced.
Sure.
And he's providing him with his true identity. He's like, you're Kal-El, dog.
This is who you are?
And takes him on a journey through time and space to complete his maturation.
Sure. He hooks up like a knowledge IV to his brain and just starts funneling facts in there, yeah.
And so it basically is like, takes him 12 years to mature through this journey. And he reveals that he is now matured. It's Chris Reeve, and he has the red and blue suit.
Yes. What did he know about himself before this? Because he didn't know he was an alien. He had no idea what his powers came from. But he knows he has this super strength, this super speed.
Does he know he's an alien?
I don't know, because it's...
They never talked about it.
It's the first time he finds out anything about his cause. It seems like he was wholly uncurious about what was going on.
Yeah, he was just like, I'm fast.
What did he... I think that's an issue. What did he believe was going on?
Well, we don't know.
I think that's a problem in this movie, because we never know. Anything we say is pure speculation.
And now, all that is done, we're heading to Metropolis.
Yes, this is the end of the first act.
Yeah, and so... It's a big old skyscraper. It's the Daily Planet. We see Jimmy Olsen. He's taking some photographs of a chaotic day at the Daily Planet, based on a typical day.
Yeah, we see it from his perspective.
Yeah, and we see ace reporter Lois Lane, who is really dumb and can't spell words, which is a big problem for me.
It happens. She's smart in other ways.
Yeah, that's why, you ever heard the phrase bury the lead, but lead is spelled L-E-D-E? That's why, because reporters can't spell.
But I'm a reporter, and I'm real good at spelling.
You're the good one.
So it's that sports reporting, man. It's all those crazy names.
That's right, yeah.
Get to the Christopher Reeve!
And then... Christopher Reeve, Clark Kent, arrives, and he's the tall, shy, he's wearing glasses, he's a total goober, and he is hired by Perry White, and Lois Lane is tasked to basically show him the ropes, and he is very charming.
Yeah, he's so good. He's the best cast superhero anything until I don't fucking know. J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, honestly.
I agree with that.
It's utterly, he's so good. He's so insecure and he's so nervous and anxious, and everybody brings up, well, Clark Kent is just a Superman in glasses. Everybody would notice. It's easy to see with Christopher Reeve portraying it how people don't make the connection, because he's so unassuming that people don't even look at him.
Yes.
No, I think you pointed this out, Matt.
Yeah.
That nobody's even really making eye contact with him in this movie. Nobody looks them in the face.
Nobody gives a shit.
Completely unassuming.
He could not be more unassuming. It's so good, and he's tapping into this insecurity he had when he was growing up. Mm-hmm. And I think he does that in a beautiful way. It's so fucking good. And if this wasn't good, the entire movie would fall apart.
Oh, yeah. This could be so bad.
Yeah.
And guess what? It was so bad in one movie that we got. No offense to Brandon Routh, who I like.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's good in the Arrowverse.
He is. I like him as Ray Palmer.
Mm-hmm. I've seen him in a lot of stuff I like.
Yeah. Charming.
That movie was not his fault. Back to this movie. After the day's over, Clark and Lois are leaving the Daily Planet, and they are held up in an alley.
Yes.
They're getting mugged.
Are we meant to believe Metropolis is generally a dangerous place? Or
No.
does this just happen?
I think this is just happening.
Yeah.
I think it's New York City. So,
goddamn Jimmy Carter's America, am I right?
Yeah, guys. A national malaise. Come on. So, Clark, being Clark
That does not represent the views of Up and Away. I hope everyone has a nice day.
Clark Kent faints.
Yes.
Because he's trying to be unassuming. But as he did this because
he's being held up and he's like trying to talk the guy down and, hey, nobody wants any trouble here, sir.
Yeah, and he's being all gee golly willikers about it.
And being very naive, and Lois is like, shut the fuck up, you fucking asshole, you're gonna get a shot.
And the guy opens fire on Lois. He
shoots at Lois Lane.
And Clark faints.
He becomes, in that moment, an attempted murderer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Clark faints, but for the sole purpose of catching the bullet.
To play off the fact that he reached his hand out, caught the bullet, then he, it has to play this out, and he collapses as if he's fainted.
Yeah. And, in defending himself to Lois, he's just like, oh, I'm just a total dipshit, you know?
Pussy.
Yeah. The two, they hail a taxi.
She's a little suspicious, but she immediately shakes it off.
Yeah. She's a strong lady.
Yeah.
As Lois and Clark, they both hail a taxi, but walking past them is a...
By the way, interesting line in this scene that I noted. You can't solve society's problems with a gun. Good line.
Yeah.
Good line. Very Batman line.
Yeah, very Batman line.
But I mean, Superman, I don't remember if it's Siegel or Schuster, but one of them, at a very young age when they were like 12, 13, their father was murdered in a robbery.
Yeah.
And so I really think that this scene was put in possibly to honor.
No, and I mean, there's a lot that goes into the creation of Superman. I mean, it's a perfect origin story. And it was created by these two immigrants, read aliens, from immigrant families at least, who felt unsafe personally, and they felt unsafe because of World War II.
Sure.
Yeah, Jewish guys.
They were both Jewish guys. They're young kids trying to have an idealistic view of the world. There's a lot of things that go into only these two types of guys could have created this exact character.
Right.
That's lasted... I mean, it's going to last 100 years. It's going to last forever.
Yeah.
It's going to last forever. It's Superman. It's going to last forever.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is. It's the dumbest name.
Yeah.
Superman.
No, it's the most basic name.
Yeah.
Well, but is it so basic because everything springs from it?
Yes, exactly.
But it's perfect.
It's a Rorschach of a superhero in a lot of ways.
Right.
And I think it's really interesting that, Joe, like you said, that line, and especially with, I don't remember if it's Siegel or Schuster, but just the fact that their view on the world possibly was shown in this. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And either Siegel or Schuster, whoever's father was killed, and Superman is able to stop that bullet.
That's right.
If Superman was
Oh,
there,
do you think that might have been like
an Easter egg?
An Easter egg for their father? See, I don't think so. I think that was just to get somebody shot.
Probably not
at.
because of all like the copyright shit that they didn't want to do anything for Siegel and Schuster.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They weren't really friends to Siegel and or Schuster.
But I mean,
one of them was blind.
They still did it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Superman could have saved his father, and I think that's a big thing. Superman could have saved a lot of people's parents, and a lot of people
couldn't save his own.
Yeah, that's the thing. He couldn't save his own father. But as Lois and Clark, back to the plot, as Lois and Clark hail their taxi, walking past them is a well-dressed, he's a portly guy.
Yeah.
It's Ned Beatty.
They call him 200 pounds. He ain't 200 pounds.
No. It's Ned Beatty. He is munching on some snacks, carrying a copy of The Planet, and
he's like a heavy-set, jovial type.
Yeah, his name's Otis in this, and he's being followed by 2 undercover cops. And we learn that he is an assistant for the criminal genius Alexander Luthor, Lex Luthor. And, gasp. And he's on his way to Luthor's secret hideout, and the cops track him to Metropolis Grand Central Station, where Otis goes onto one of the train tracks and finds the secret compartment. The cops follow him, one of them does, and tries to get in, but Lex Luthor basically forces the man through some little technology, forces him onto the tracks, and has a train hit him.
Yeah, he straight up murders him in a little bit of a comic book kind of way.
A cop?
Yeah.
He murders a cop.
Yeah, Luthor is hiding out beneath the subway.
Gene Hackman.
Yeah, as played by Gene Hackman, called by some the greatest actor to live.
Yeah. In a movie with Marlon Brando.
In a movie with Marlon Brando.
This is a murderer's row of actors.
With Reeve as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's a really odd place for a lair. Can we say that?
Yeah.
It's weird to have... Because he could easily be in a penthouse. Yeah, there's nothing that he needs to be underground to do or hidden away.
He's not a mole man.
Yeah.
This isn't really comic book Lex, or what we've seen now with animated show Lex, or animated movie Lex, or even in now movie Lex, with Superman Returns and Batman v Superman we've seen with Lex. This isn't
foppish Lex.
This isn't the businessman that we really know. I mean, he's trying to be enterprising, but he's not like LexCorp, like, this is my company, like, I use my money for influence. That's not really what he is. You don't really get an idea of the man until we learn his general plot for the movie, his arc. And right now he's just some menacing dude who killed a cop. And so he has like his hot lady, Mrs.
Tessmacher.
Yeah, Mrs. Tessmacher. And
please, Ms. Tessmacher.
Yeah.
If you're nasty.
She's actually appalled by the scene. But Luthor is very arrogant and condescending, and reminds her that it is inevitable for criminal minds like him to do stuff like that. He tells her how his father, a cruel man who disowned Lex as a child, once told him that even if governments and economies collapse, people will still need land and will do anything to get it. And this has guided his career criminal activity ever since. And so that's...
Same thing with Trump.
I mean, yeah, kind of. When Otis, Ned Beatty, arrives in the underground lair, he is very clumsy because he allowed himself to be followed again. Luthor calls him out on that.
Oafing around.
Yeah. Quit oafing around out there.
Sorry, boss. Sorry, hiccup.
Lex tells him to feed the babies, which are a group of unidentified, unseen creatures in a big pit that we don't really see.
Yeah, there's nothing to that throughout the rest of the movie, right?
Yeah. His more pressing concern, though, however, is laying a story in the planet that 2 nuclear cruise-type missiles with hypersonic speed are going to be tested using live multi-megaton warheads. So he intends to use these missiles to fulfill what he calls the greatest real estate swindle in history.
Okay, so we now have the general plan
of Lex.
There's more details that need to. Yeah, there's more details that need to come. Do we know about how he plans to alter the coastline yet? No, we don't know that yet.
That comes when Superman.
That comes when Superman shows up.
Yeah.
But we know generally that it is a real estate-based plan. This is a small plan for Superman to be fighting, right? Was this just more understandable for this kind of audience? For a 1970s audience that really hadn't been programmed to see these big super fights yet?
I mean, the most people got was the 60s Batman.
Yeah, that's
pretty
true.
much, yeah.
I mean,
pretty much.
This was the most...
Oh, yeah, the most they got was Superman, punching robots.
Yeah, now he's fighting a guy.
Yeah, he's fighting a guy who's going to alter the coastline.
Yeah, so I mean, that...
Yeah, that seems to go one for one.
Sure, yeah, it makes enough sense as it should. The next...
but it's just rough now looking back where we're so used to movies that have too many supervillains.
Yeah.
Where he's fighting Gene Hackman and a leasing zone.
Yeah, exactly.
And Otis.
And Otis. Otis is the second villain on this.
Who may be illiterate.
We always see him as eating a bunch of snacks.
Yeah.
And looking like our uncle.
He looks very much like our uncle. It is quite off-putting.
Yeah, it's very distracting.
It's very funny to me. So later that night, Lois Lane is scheduled to fly via a helicopter, Daily Planet helicopter, to Metropolis International Airport to greet Air Force One. The president's coming in. But on the helipad, she boards the chopper, but once it takes off, a cable is ripped free of its bracket, and in the updraft caused by the chopper, it snags on its landing skids and brakes and plunges, and the chopper flies off the roof and basically gets stuck on the ledge.
Yeah.
And
Lois is doing her best to save everything. She cannot.
No. And she's screaming, and she's just hanging by a seatbelt.
Yeah. I think it's important. She was not necessarily just a damsel in distress.
No.
She was really trying to...
She was the only conscious one in the helicopter.
Yeah, she was really doing her damnedest to save the damn thing.
Right.
So we see a bunch of panic in the streets. People are like, oh my God, it's a helicopter. And Clark, leaving for work that day, sees what's going on and very calmly runs over to what are they, the spinning doors?
Oh, yeah.
Revolving doors.
Revolving doors, yeah.
And he revolves really, really fast, and it spins. Superman comes out in his full costume for the first time in Metropolis. Mm-hmm. So that's exciting. And he flies up, and Lois falls, and he catches her. And he's like, I've got you, miss. And she's like, well, who's got you? Yes, we are now finally seeing Superman flying. It's a great, powerful introduction to besuited Superman. It looks good for 78. Yeah, it looks really good. It's small stakes, but it's still a good introduction. Sure.
Right.
Those stakes didn't need to be that high.
It's the first anyone has seen a man, quote-unquote, fly.
Also, Lois Lane might die. Those are some high stakes.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Because we get the idea that Clark has a crush on her, too.
Yeah.
He has shown some very awkwardness around her, especially. And the helicopter also falls, and he catches that as well. First we see the suit as well. Yeah.
Never explain where it come from.
No.
Never get an explanation on that.
Yeah, that was...
Another little bit of a plot hole. Where does he get that? Where does he get everything? Come on. What are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know if you can ever really explain that away, unless you'd be like, oh, it's just family garb.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. What am I going to say? No, that's stupid. It's whatever. I'm watching a movie about this dude flying. She's like, who are you? Because she's a journalist, she just wants to write about this dude. And he just says, a friend. And it's at this point that we see Superman doing little shit across the
Metropolis. Yeah, he's imposing his justice upon the city. That makes it sound like... that makes him sound evil.
Yeah.
That makes it sound like he's in Mad Max times. Mm-hmm. He's bringing justice to the people. That's even worse somehow. He's handling problems.
He's being Superman.
Robberies, cats and trees.
He knows the Ubermensch.
Yeah. Just a big mensch. Just an uber mensch. Wait.
That's not right. The next morning he returns to the Fortress of Solitude and consults the spirit of Jor-El to convey his emotions he felt upon making his full power known. And Jor-El tells him to be circumspect in his power and praises him for what he has learned so far. I had a problem with some of these scenes with him and just Jor-El's consciousness, because we had one scene of Pa Kent being a father.
Yes.
And we've had a bunch of scenes of him and Jor-El being like, "I love you, Daddy."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I really
feel that connection a lot more than you ever felt the Pa Kent.
by a mile.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's only because they have Brando.
Yeah, exactly. Because that Pa Kent actor, I mean, no offense to him, and he's not Brando.
He ain't Brando, yeah.
Yeah.
He would tell you that.
Yeah. And I think that's a real misstep, because I think Pa Kent is what kind of drives Clark back to the middle, almost. You know, he humanizes him more. He tells him from a human perspective, not even just his fatherly perspective, just like, Clark, you are something incredible.
I feel like it might be fair to say Jor-El is teaching him what he can be, and Pa Kent, Jonathan Kent, is teaching him what he must be.
Well, and also think about it like this: Jor-El is calling him Cal. Jonathan calls him Clark.
Yeah. It's a very interesting.
He's not Kal-El.
No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah. If you asked him what's your name, he would tell you my name is Clark Kent.
Yeah, and I think they should. I understand why they did it. You're right. They did it because of Brando. And
who, by the way, when he's doing these like talking head kind of things, you brought this up, Melissa.
I did.
Do you want to?
Yeah, you can clearly see him, like, you know, looking down to read his line, because it's part of method acting, or for Brando it was. He liked to have his lines just like laying around, so it seemed like he was, you know, they were coming to him fresh, as though they were. He was extemporizing or something like that.
Yeah, feeling them as the character.
Yeah, exactly. But watching it, it just looked like an actor reading his lines.
It looks like a table read.
Yeah, exactly.
With you bringing up that's a great point, because I said that during the movie about I feel they should have done the Pa Kent stuff better. Is I guess that's why for Man of Steel they basically got two actors who are on par with each other.
Sure, yeah.
For Kevin Costner and Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
So they could do both.
Yeah.
And they got both.
Very
true. A man who can do both.
How dare you?
Get yourself a Jor-El and a Jonathan, man.
Listen, every girl needs a side Jonathan and a side Jor-El.
That's me, baby. I'm all wrapped into one. The scene shifts to...
I may put that on my Tinder profile. More Jonathan Kent than Jor-El.
God, that's gonna get one girl to be like, nah. Like, she gets it, but she's still like, yeah.
Yeah, no.
No, one girl's gonna super like it, and that's gonna be your wife.
How'd you guys meet? Coffee.
Superman fan club. So the scene shifts to Lex Luthor watching the news about Superman. Well, not Superman, but this strange man.
This man who is super.
Yeah. He sees it as a natural challenge, and he...
By the way, real quick, before we hop on to the next scene.
Go for it.
During the discussion between Jor-El and Kal-El, he says Jor-El tells him that he has to keep his identity secret for two reasons. One is the usual one, keeps people around you safe.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I thought was a little bit more interesting. You have to keep humans... If you make your identity known, people will constantly want you to be doing everything for them, even things they can do themselves.
It's a good line.
Hmm.
So to keep people honest, you have to let them struggle.
Right.
And I thought that was a really interesting concept, and I don't think that gets played up very much, even though I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a religious thing.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, you
Well,
can't be too much of a god. And there's clear Jesus parallels between Superman.
Big time.
I'm surprised they didn't make him 33 years old, or however old Jesus was when he died.
Oh, wow.
Do we know that he's not?
Yeah, they say he was
He's
like
30.
30, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We know he's 30.
Okay.
That's a great point. Which also plays up to, I think, Brandon Routh and Henry Cavill are around that age, too.
Yeah, it's a very common Superman age, because he's a very common Christ figure.
Yeah. And that's why people are, like, pointing it out now. They're like, hey, wait a minute. Like, yeah.
That's been there for a long, long time.
Oh my gosh, sure.
Like, they call him a god in the comics for...
By the way, this movie, especially Marlon Brando, kept doing the very annoying 28 hours or 24 of your Earth hours. You can just say your thing.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Like, it's so tedious in movies. It's like, Earth years. It's like, just say years.
Do people do that when they go to other countries? Or 35 of your Canada dollars?
You know what? Some people do.
That's fair.
Probably, yeah.
A lot of dirtbags do.
Yeah, but not the nation's leading scientist.
That's true.
I I had several cable access television shows. Jor.
You think where's Jorts? George Jorts. That'd be his Earth job.
This is getting dumber by the second.
It seems like something that Russell Crowe's one would do.
We have moved to Lex Luthor now?
Yes, he is. He's vowing to destroy everything that this stranger represents, which is like, all right.
Yes.
I don't understand why he feels that way.
I was going to bring this up. He's very one note and he's very bland, which is unfortunate because we have such a good actor.
Gosh,
it's more than such a good actor.
Yeah, it's A+, top level, top of the food chain guy. Yeah.
You said he would be on the Mount Rushmore of actors.
Yeah,
he's in the conversation.
Sure, if you put him in your Ford, like that's.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. But we have no idea what his background is in this movie, his capabilities.
We know his father was shitty to him.
We have no idea what his capabilities are in this movie.
But that doesn't mean you have to hate Superman.
No.
We know nothing about him. He's just a mustache-twirling villain.
He does not have a mustache, though.
No. He may as well be tying women to train tracks. And he kind of does at times.
Yeah, he kind of.
No, that almost literally happens coming up.
Yeah. Perry White, meanwhile, is trying to make this red and blue stranger the #1 priority of the planet because every other paper is covering it. And he's like, we need the story. We need to be out in front of this. He's basically being J. Jonah.
Yeah.
It's like, get me pictures of Superman. Banging his fist on the desk. So Lois Lane finds a note that it's requesting a dinner date from a friend. And she's like, ooh, that's Superman. And so the scene shifts to this date. And is the ride first, Joe?
No, I think we move right to the date.
Well, no, I'm saying, but like, don't they like just fly around first?
No, they talk and then they fly.
They fly. Okay. Well, this scene of them talking is pretty weird. It is a very sexualized chat.
Yeah, throughout this, like...
She's like, what color panties am I wearing?
If you can see through things, then what color underwear am I wearing? Oh. And then later he's like, pink. Just out of nowhere.
Because I can't see through this lead plant pot.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortably sexual at times.
Yeah, and it's like, chill,
because
Margot.
He never reads as sexual.
No, he reads as asexual.
Yes.
Like, he's wearing these, like, red panties that's, like, completely Ken-dolling him.
Yeah.
And it's like...
That's a great phrase.
And it's Superman. Like, Superman doesn't bone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's different... And I hate to keep comparing, but it's different when you see Henry Cavill, because we saw him with his shirt off. And it's like, that dude looks insane. Like, that dude fucks constantly. Like, this Superman doesn't. That Superman slays. You know what I mean? So, like, when he got in the bathtub with Lois and Batman v Superman, you bought it.
And it doesn't help that she is basically in a lingerie gown.
Yeah, it's like I thought she was in lingerie. Yeah. But that was just, like, her dinner dress.
No, it's a very basic conversation, but it's confusingly sexual at times. Something I found really interesting, we talked about the way that people are treating Clark Kent. The way that people are treating Superman is very different.
The adoration.
They're adoring him. They're nervous around him. You completely buy that it's two different people.
Because he's treated like two different people.
And I think that's a credit to the other actors. Christopher Reeve obviously does a good job. But the other actors are doing a great job of treating him like he is two separate characters.
Especially Margot Kidder.
Yeah, she does a great job of that. And then they start flying around.
Yeah, then they start flying around.
It's a good date move.
And then he drops her.
Yes. And he like grabs her mid-flight. He has to like grab her mid-flight. And then they're looking in each other's eyes. The romance builds very oddly throughout this.
I don't know.
Is that a thing? Do women want to be flown around like Aladdin?
I mean, if you look like that.
Gosh, I've never thought about it before. I don't know.
Probably not.
No.
If Tom Hardy came here and was like, let's go flying.
No, I would not like that. I think
several reasons.
He used to have a crack problem.
He seems like a nice guy.
If he said, let's go flying, I assume that's what he was talking about.
Oh, Thomas, you're back off.
Oh, no. You've got so much going for you.
But Kal-El, or Clark, returns Lois to her apartment.
And we get a fucking incredible shot.
Yeah, and she also dubs him a Superman. And she's like, Superman. And they gotta have that scene, sure.
Yeah, sure.
And then we...
What is this, a man of spiders?
we really needed, what's that actor's name?
Full of women? Oh, yeah, Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell, we needed him being like, Superman! Just like yelling it. Man, we needed a bone saw in this movie.
Bone saw in every movie.
Yeah, every
like
superhero
literally
movie.
every movie. Like Little Women and stuff.
Pride and Prejudice and Bonesaw.
like you wouldn't go to a Thursday screening of Pride and Prejudice and Bonesaw.
The lovely Bonesaw.
Ramona and Beezus and Bonesaw.
No, it's Ramona and Bonesaw. That's the movie.
Yeah, the posters of Lena Gomez and Bonesaw back to back. Arms folded.
This podcast is off the rails.
It's perfect, but it's a wonderful shot of Superman coming in
Best shot of the movie.
dropping off Lois Lane, and there's not a single cut. Lois Lane walks through her apartment, hears a knock at the door, and she opens up, and it's Clark Kent.
Yeah, in full suit.
No,
Suit and tie.
no single cut.
Yeah.
So Christopher Reeve was sprinting his ass off.
Yeah.
He shows up.
Gonna need a pinch runner. Deep Bob's Burgers reference. Yeah, and he's like, and apparently they had a date too.
Oh no, did they? I didn't.
Yeah, he was like, we're supposed to have our date.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was never brought up before, but alright. And she's just...
I think she forgot too. She was like, what? Oh, okay.
Alright, sure, pussy.
Sorry, I'm wearing this lingerie.
Yeah.
This is giving you all kinds of wrong ideas.
Yeah. Don't get too... don't get the wrong idea. Anyway.
Trying to jizz all over yourself.
Jesus. So Luthor reads the newspaper the next day, and it's the big story. It's Lois Lane got the scoop on Superman, where she also basically tells him a list of Superman's fears and what he's vulnerable to.
Turn-ons.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Pink panties.
Thanks, Lois. God.
Yeah.
And it causes Luthor to remember a scientific theory.
That kryptonite might kill Superman.
This is really bad.
Yeah.
This is not the worst part of the movie. This is the second worst part of the movie, where he remembers. He's like, oh, there was he came from a planet that blew up, did he? Well, what happened to the blown up pieces of that planet? And then Mrs. Tessmacher's like, meteorites. And he's like, yes. And he's like, I think one of these meteorites that crashed here will actually kill Superman. And they're just all like, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's commit to that 100% and never question it.
And it's just like, all right. And it's in Ethiopia. So that's where they go.
So y'all think we're stupid, huh?
I mean, they're just... I've been really curious, especially when the new ones were coming out. They're like, how are they going to tie together? Because every time Superman's in, you know they're going to bring in kryptonite.
Yeah.
And so you're always wondering, like, how are they going to bring in kryptonite? It's always the question. And here, they just fucking tell you it's there.
Yeah.
There's no nuance.
Yeah.
There's no, like...
I got it, boss.
Yeah, Otis are like, oh, let's prop it up my toilet. Like, it might as well have been that. And so... Later, we see that Lex and his gang is trying to intercept those two missiles for the upcoming test using a variety of guises to divert the military's intentions. Our military is really dumb in this movie.
Yes. The military gets completely derailed by a pair of big titties.
Yeah. They see that Mrs. Tessmacher, they faked a car crash, and so she's like fake unconscious. And the guy's like, I'll give her CPR. And the general's like, I will.
I'll give her some mouth-to-mouth and chest massaging.
Yeah, and he's like, turn around, boys. And they all turn around while you can't see what he's doing.
It's a very comical moment. It's a very comical, rapey moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of got what's coming to us then.
Yeah.
And Otis, meanwhile, for some reason, Lex fucking tasks Otis with this to divert the missiles in order for Lex to gain control of them. And Otis fucks it up. And so Lex is like, gosh darn it, Otis, total Three Stooges moment in the back of this car that they're in. And so they do it again.
Yeah, and then they just go do it again.
And this time it works.
Yeah, they like block off a bridge with a house.
Yeah.
And there's
A big
no reason
truck.
to do it twice. But
They did it twice because they needed 15 more minutes of this movie. Or just to show us that Otis is dumb. Ned Beatty's really stupid. You're either, for Ned Beatty, you're either the dumbass sidekick, you're Rudy's dad, or you're getting rammed in the woods. That's what people know you as.
Sorry, Natty.
For me, it's all three, baby.
For me, it's this movie where he looks exactly like my uncle.
That too. And so, the planet now learns that an unknown figure, spoiler, it's Lex Luthor, is buying up hundreds of acres of seemingly worthless desert in the Southwest.
Kind of seems like he should have had this under lock before he set the nuke.
Yeah.
A little bit of a weird timing on that, but okay.
Suspecting land fraud, Perry sends Lois and Jimmy to investigate. And he basically tells Clark that, like, hey, if you weren't such a pussy, you would have gone too. But it's at this point that Perry also awfully mentions a worthless meteorite being stolen from Ethiopian Museum. We didn't even get that scene.
Nope. That would have been really cool to see.
Yeah.
Don't get any of that.
You could have had Otis bumbling around in the museum.
Yeah.
Instead of just being a dumbass with the missile.
He accidentally knocks some shit over and then just Lex takes it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Otis bumbling around Ethiopia? That sounds like a hoot.
That sounds like Superman 2. You know, they just do that. That could be the whole movie. And so, out of nowhere, Clark is struck by a piercing, high-pitched signal. And it's a radio frequency that only Superman and dogs can hear. Sure. And it's Lex Luthor's voice. And he is telling Superman that a poison gas pellet is going to be released in the air and kill everybody unless he confronts him alone. He wants Superman to come to his secret lair. Because that's what you do if you're a villain. You come to my secret lair.
This is back before the trope of, let me explain my plot to you.
Yeah.
Was really, had really saturated to the point of putrescence.
Yeah, they started it.
No, I wouldn't say they started it by any means, but they were in the middle of this
they got away
wave.
with it.
Yeah, where you just kind of had to tell everyone what you were going to do.
Yeah, so the audience knew what you were going to do.
Yeah.
And so Clark sneaks away, changes into a Superman costume mid-flight, which didn't make any sense. I guess he just ripped off all his clothes. He had breakaways on that day at work.
Well, he's real strong, so anything's a breakaway.
Yeah. And so he...
Any clothes are breakaway with a can-do attitude.
So he goes into the hideout, and he's like, tell me about this gas pellet. And Luthor's like, that was a lie. And...
dumbass.
He just wanted to meet him and tell him about his true plans. That he will destroy the San Andreas Fault, which will collapse the western coastline of California, basically allowing the land that Lex bought to now become beachfront.
He has, little models and,
Like a bunch of stuff set up, little miniatures. He's like, look at all this stuff I can do. I'm going to have billions of dollars, which I assume he already had because he's Lex Luthor. I guess he's just driven by money.
He does everything short of, present a PowerPoint to Superman about, his 10-point plan. And it's a dumb plan. That land would face massive erosion. There's no way to tell. Not to get all Neil deGrasse Tyson on it, but that would never work.
Yeah.
And the military would just come in and be like, yeah, we need to take all this for a little while.
They're like, that's Lex's land. We can't do anything.
We're not really the Manifest Destiny country anymore, but that's 100% what we're going to do.
Yeah, there's this thing called eminent domain that, we can just go and,
take it.
Yeah.
And so Superman, believing that, because Lex tells him that he has the detonator for these nukes, Superman thinks he knows where it is. He thinks it's in this lead box, but he opens it and it's kryptonite.
Another weird assumption that he would just have in a lead box, but okay.
Sure. Well, no, Lois wrote that in her article. That Superman can't see through lead.
Oh, and he's assuming, well, I can't see through lead, so you would keep it in lead.
Yeah.
It's a little sweaty.
Yeah. But he's like, I'm looking for it, I can't find it. Oh, here's lead, maybe it's in there.
That's fair.
And so he's struck by it. It's his one true weakness.
Yeah, he puts this big chain of kryptonite around his neck.
Yeah, like he's DMX. He traipses it around Superman's neck and pushes him into his little pool that he has there, and to drown him. And that's super brutal. Can Superman drown?
Sure. He breathes oxygen, doesn't he? Does he?
Does he?
I don't know.
You can.
That's kind of inconsistent. I would assume yes, he can drown to death.
He didn't drown in Man of Steel.
Yeah, and he flies through space all the time.
Yeah.
So maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe Lex was just trying something.
Depends on who writes it.
Yeah.
For this movie, I would assume yes, he can drown.
Maybe with kryptonite he can drown.
Yeah. Fair. Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Luthor has actually made a mistake though, because Miss Tessmacher, her mother lives in the coast of California, and she's like, I don't want my mom to die. And so
should have thought about that like 15 minutes ago.
And yeah, so she
15 movie minutes ago.
So while Luthor and Otis are monitoring the errant missiles, she saves Superman. She takes the chain off of him and basically is like, go stop Lex. Like, that dude's evil. And he blasts through the ceiling of the lair into the train thing and into the sky and on a direct course west. He tries to stop the first missile over Kansas, but it dodges him, and he must overtake it and ram it into space. And when the second missile, however, does detonate the fall, but it sets off a quake that is basically like the destruction of Krypton all over again.
Yes, very reminiscent.
A nightmare that drives Superman as he flies underneath the Earth's crust to stabilize the land. However, the aftershocks are very deadly, and he flies across all of the area, rescuing people all over. There's ensuing disaster, and it's brutal.
It's really brutal. It's really intense, and it's really well shot.
Yeah.
This whole movie is beautifully shot.
Yeah, by Richard Donner, it really is. And Lois's car has broken down in the middle of the desert and is swallowed by a massive fissure.
I think you mentioned, Melissa, this was just a thing you could do in a movie at the time.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, your car broke down, and then like, because cars broke down all the time. It would be like your cell phone dying now in a movie.
That's the common trope now.
Yeah.
And she is basically...
I love now in horror movies we do have to do that, of like, we don't get reception out here. Like, there needs to be a line in there.
You have to explain it, because people would not buy it now.
She is basically buried alive, and he senses her danger. Maybe he hears her, I guess.
Quick, eat all the dirt until you're not dead anymore.
And he finds the car and pulls it out of the ground, but it's too late.
Yes.
And she dies.
Lois has died. She has been crushed to death.
And he tearfully kisses her, like, you kiss a dead body. And then he lays her body down.
Matthew.
He did. And he stands over it, very silent. And
while he was out saving the world, the only person he cared about passed away.
Yeah. And he finally lets out just like a guttural scream.
It's beautiful from Christopher Reeve. This whole scene, he is fucking slaying it.
Yeah, he's doing amazing work.
While he is doing amazing work, I agree, like you both said, it's very dumb what he does.
Yes.
In the terms of just the plot.
Yeah.
He flies into the sky and turns back time.
I wish I could see little baby Neil deGrasse Tyson watching this like, I feel like I could ruin this somehow. To the books. This is what started his whole journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, he heard Jor-El basically tell him, like, you must not interfere with human history. But he's also recalling Jonathan, be like, all that power and I couldn't save him.
Yes,
like,
I wanted to bring this up, the allegory to his father at the beginning.
Yeah.
When he was an untrained 15-year-old. Now he's double that. And he is, I guess he was 18 at the time. And it's such a powerful one-for-one thing about him finally being able to impose himself.
Mm-hmm.
And now he...
I almost burped like Rick from Rick and Morty.
And then Lois Lane
come on, Marty, we got
to turn back time.
you gotta fly around the world.
That seems like something they would do.
Yeah.
Really, Rick? No, it doesn't work.
Rock goddamn Superman, Morty. And Superman pulls it off. He flies back in time, basically, and manages to get to Lois quicker and saves her. And he also saves Jimmy Olsen.
Does it undo the other stuff he was busy doing? Like, does he not save some people?
I don't know.
Did he know that would happen?
No, I think he was just very determined.
He listened. He said yes to life. He was reading a lot of Eckhart Tolle at the time.
Live, laugh, love, you know?
Yeah.
You know that like something real good happened for some dude somewhere, like in Australia or something.
Oh, like 1 million people.
Yeah, and they're like, oh man, it's like the greatest thing that ever happened to me, and then whoops, Superman turns back time.
Yeah.
Or like somebody's born, and then like in this new timeline, they're not born.
They're like conceived or something.
Yeah. Oh,
Like the Waynes are now murdered. And like,
yeah, in the earlier one we get the shot of just Bruce Wayne eating ice cream at home with his parents.
Yeah. And now he's
he
crying
turns
over
back
them.
time. Yeah.
Oh man, that'd be a thug move from Richard Donner. That's what I would tell everybody if I was Richard Donner. Like, yeah, he
you
caused
didn't know that. Yeah.
That's gonna be like Justice League 2,
Yeah.
where Batman finds out. Which is sick. I was gonna write that down on my Google Drive.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, she is now alive. Jimmy Olsen has also been saved, and he's very catty about it.
Yeah.
It's
Kind
like
of cock about it.
It's like,
You
chill
got
out,
saved.
Jimmy. You got saved. Like, you're fine.
It's like, there's snakes everywhere.
Literally. He's like, you left me near some snakes. And meanwhile, Superman just, like, flicks him in the ball sack. Superman takes Luthor and Otis, or they're preparing to drop Mrs. Tessmacher into the pit of the babies. But Superman rescues her and pointedly notes to Luthor that Mrs. Tessmacher's mother sends her love.
Damn.
It's like, oh, world star. Oh man, Black Twitter would love Superman if he was real.
Oh yeah. There'd be like 10 billion vines a day.
Like Superman just lifted my car out of a ditch. Afterwards, Superman delivers both Lex and Otis to a maximum security prison to hold pending trial, which is not how due process works.
No, that was the thing with Venture Brothers. You can't just drop someone into the prison yard and be like, well, all done.
They still must be convicted of something and sentenced. There's
like,
a lot.
they can make bail.
There's a lot that goes into this.
Luthor shouts his defiance, basically like Zod.
Yeah, it's very Zod-like.
He's like, I'm gonna get you. But
it's just very, overwritten villain.
And he takes off...
Pretty boilerplate stuff.
And he takes off his wig.
For some reason.
Which is like, oh, he's bald, alright.
Yeah.
Sure, that does nothing for anything, but okay.
You didn't need to take it off.
Yeah, just kind of left it. It'd be fun to, like, shaving his head for prisoner, like, oh, this is a wig.
Yeah, that would have been funny. Yeah.
No, it's just like, I told you they'd find out. Shut up. I hate them. As the two are being led away, the prison ward thanks Superman, and he's like, don't need to thank me, I'm just doing my duty. And the movie ends, basically.
Yes, and that is 1978's Richard Donner, Superman.
Yeah, a very enjoyable movie, for the most part.
Yes, we pretty much talked about all the characters we would need to talk about for this movie. Let's touch on them all briefly. Christopher Reeve plays Superman.
My God.
And it is, it's an A-plus performance.
It's an A-plus performance.
Everything he's given to work with, he brings, he elevates, and he is able to play the hardest part of Superman, Clark Kent.
We have not gotten this good of superhero stuff. I'm just saying superhero stuff in general, from the hero perspective as an actor until the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I would agree with that.
Until, I would say, probably Robert Downey Jr.
Yes.
And
yes.
Probably Chris Evans as well.
Yeah, and then Chris Evans also brings it. Sorry, Hemsworth, you do good work.
I mean, they're all great, but I mean, just people who are just on a different plane. Hemsworth can still get there. His third movie's still coming out.
Yeah, that's true. It's incredible. He looks physically smaller when he's Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, or he's Clark.
Yeah, when he's Clark.
When he's like slouched over.
Yeah.
And there was that great scene.
But it's not even like he's like overly slouching, or it's like that guy's trying to look small.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't believe in himself. That's what it looks like.
Well, there's that scene where he was where Superman had just let Lois back from their little date.
Yeah.
And then Clark came in through the door, and Lois is in there changing or something, and he takes off his glasses as Clark, and then like kind of postures up.
Yeah.
And he like, you can see like, holy shit, that's Superman.
Yeah.
But then when he puts his glasses back on and hunches back down a little bit when she comes back out,
he's
Clark. He's a different person. And I mean, Brandon Routh didn't do that. Henry Cavill hasn't done that.
No.
Christopher, I'm mastered.
They're always fuck guys. It looks like they're always trying to get laid.
Yeah. And it's just...
They just look like GQ models in glasses.
Yeah.
In really nice glasses.
Yeah. And he's just so good.
Yeah, he's incredible. plot holes aside, from when he comes in, every time he's on, he completely steals pretty much every scene.
Like, if he won an Oscar for his role, I wouldn't have...
That. And he's able to bring this a humanity to the very bland kind of, no, I believe in truth and justice kind of stuff, which can be very one note. He's able to bring a belief in that. And I think a lot of that is because of the background stuff we get with Jor-El.
Right.
Where he gives that a lot of context.
And I just brought it up a second ago, but Chris Evans does the same thing as Steve Rogers.
Yes.
And I think it's because we've gotten time to sit with that character. We had him when he was Lil Steve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think Christopher Reeve brings the same kind of thing. And we didn't even get him when he was young Clark. He didn't play 18-year-old Clark.
Yeah.
And for Christopher Reeve to just be able to do that is...
It's wonderful.
It's mind-boggling.
It's wonderful.
R.I.P. Christopher Reeve.
I think I brought...
Yeah.
Of course, oh, my God. I think I brought it up before. I do not envy the next person to try to play Captain America.
No.
Because even if they do a wonderful job, people are not going to be on board with it.
No. And I might not be on board with it.
Understandably. I get it. Yeah, it's hard not to think of Captain America and think of Chris Evans.
Yeah.
That's who Captain America is.
And it's hard with Christopher Reeve as well.
Yeah.
I like Brandon Routh. I've said that. I like Henry Cavill and what he's doing. But I mean, Christopher Reeve, I mean, that dude's Superman.
Yeah, he's the Superman.
Yeah, and I used to I had this job where I worked for an insurance company that had a policy.
Oh, God, this story.
No, tell it. It's a great story.
Where there was a policy that Christopher Reeve created that covered accidents that were similar to the one that he had, which often aren't covered by a lot of life insurance policies. And the policy, it came to an end for a variety of reasons, and so we had to field a lot of calls about it. And so for 6 weeks of my life, I literally had every day I got calls telling me about what a piece of shit we all were, because how awful we were to poor Christopher Reeve for taking away this wonderful plan that he gave to people.
True.
And I think we do have to touch on, for those who might not know and don't Google it, what actually happened to Christopher Reeve.
Right.
Melissa, why don't you tell it?
Yeah, it was I think 1996. He was a very athletic guy, and he was horseback riding, and he got into an accident. I think the horse didn't.
The horse was supposed to jump, but it bucked him off instead.
Right
before a trap, I believe, or a hurdle.
Steeple, yeah. And
he flew off.
Yeah, and he had a spinal cord injury.
Yeah, he landed on the top of his head.
Right.
And broke his spine, was paralyzed for the rest of his life, and became a huge advocate for the disabled for the rest of his life.
I mean, that's Superman.
He was a wonderful advocate for the rest of his life. And yeah, there was a lot of shitty jokes about Superman is fucking, can't even walk. If you ever made one of those jokes, for sure go sit on a pineapple.
Yeah. Real.
But no,
and not for fun.
Yeah. Let us make it clear. Not for fun. But yeah, I mean, there are times when I need, like, a little bit of heartwarming. I will go watch the Larry King thing of him, like, being able to move his finger again. Mm-hmm. And just how big a victory that was for him.
His whole family was nice, too.
Yeah, their
wife, lovely. His son, very nice.
I believe he passed away about a decade later, 2006-ish?
Yes.
Sounds about right.
And then his wife got cancer. Right after
almost immediately after.
Right.
And then she passed away.
About 3 years later, something like that.
Yeah. And then it's so
devastating.
Sad. But
another actor passed away around that time, Marlon Brando.
Yes.
Also in this movie, he is the lead Bill in this movie. Are we done talking about Christopher Reeve? Anything else?
Love you, Christopher Reeve.
We love Christopher Reeve.
Marlon Brando.
We kind of love Brando.
One of the greatest actors who ever lived. It's hard to have as much of an emotional connection because he was a little bit more of an asshole, it looks like. But a wonderful actor. Revolutionized acting in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I've heard people argue, too, that acting's detriment. Actually.
Yeah, I can see that.
I studied Marlon Brando in my film class. So I mean,
did they say anything like that to where I've heard classically trained actors be really mad about the Brando fetishization of method acting because it makes it really hard to do roles like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just makes it where like everybody's being this insane, untenable asshole where they have to go and live a certain way. Mm-hmm. Where no, just pretend. Yeah. Just pretend to be a thing.
My teacher was very high on Brando.
Fair, I totally understand that.
So that's where my schooling came.
Just out of curiosity, how old was she?
Ballpark.
She's in her 40s.
Yeah.
40s, yeah, that could, I mean, if you came up in a certain era, then...
It's a little younger than I would have guessed to have a lot of Brando love. But anyway, he plays Jor-El in this movie. He's very one note.
Yes.
He never really gets out of gear.
Yeah.
Well, because it's only his head after the first 10 minutes.
Yeah. He really is just kind of going through the motions in a lot of ways.
Yep.
And I think that is a function of him being in an outlandish superhero-style movie.
Sure.
I don't think he wanted to play this movie, if I remember correctly. Like, there was a lot of contract negotiations to get him in.
Yeah, there was a lot.
And they really had to shell out.
Yeah, I think per minute for a movie, he has the highest paycheck of all.
That makes sense, yeah.
Wow.
Because, I mean, he's in this movie 10 minutes.
Right.
And, how much did he get paid? Jesus Christ. So fucking good for Brando.
I think it's adjusted, if you adjust for inflation, then
right.
It's still...
He's getting, like, Robert Downey Jr. money for, like, a tenth of the time.
For Jim Nielsen time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Luthor.
Lex Luthor, played by Gene Hackman. Another guy never really gets out of gear.
He should have been written better.
He's very comical. Gene Hackman does pretty good work with everything that he's given. But I think this was another kind of thing of, like, he just never really found a second note on this.
Yeah, I don't know why they bothered to get Gene Hackman. The thing. It's like...
You didn't need him for this role.
You didn't do anything with him.
Yeah. And then they never brought him back or anything. They had no plans to bring him back or creating something a little bit bigger with this. Yeah, there's just no reason to have as big an actor as Gene Hackman in this movie. Because anybody that's going to come see this movie for a big actor, you already have with Brando.
Right.
Yeah, that's the box office draw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many more butts did Hackman put in the seats?
Honestly.
Not many. I mean, people...
Yeah, you're gilding the lily at a certain point.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Yeah, they're definitely gilding. But Gene Hackman does fine. He does nothing to sully his reputation.
Yeah, you're never going to get back.
Hey, honestly, I mean, if this was... Sorry for cutting you off there, Melissa. But if this was any other actor, we might hate it.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
That's very,
total dog shit.
That could be. That could be. In another
sometimes.
Universe, we could be talking about the worst Luthor ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some actors, their gift to a movie is not fucking up the movie.
Yeah.
I think the lady who plays Miss Tessmacher does that.
Yeah.
She does a fine job.
I think she does a better job.
Ned Beatty, too. He doesn't fuck it up.
Yeah, he's charming.
Yeah. Let's talk about Margot Kidder, who plays Lois Lane.
Lois.
She wavers between decent and quite good.
Yeah, she's very good with Clark.
Any scene where it's her and Reeve, is really pretty good.
Yeah, I think she's charming. Yeah.
Anything where it's her in a little bit more of a busier scene, she tends to get a little lost. I think.
I think this is as well as they could have written a woman for back then. Because we're still not seeing women written very well in Hollywood and in superhero movies in general. The best we're probably getting is Black Widow. But even they're pairing her off with superheroes in a lot of her movies. You know what I mean? Lois Lane, I think Amy Adams has been written well. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I think 40 years ago, in a time where, even worse than today, women were...
shopping,
Yeah, shopping, totally.
Shopping. And, well, there wasn't really much of... I mean, I'm trying to think what an action movie was in 1978.
Jaws 2.
Yeah, Jaws 2.
Lorraine Gray.
We did have Star Wars. We have Princess Leia. I mean, she's a great action hero.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's it. Literally.
I'm just trying to, what did that mean? Because, this is a pre-Stallone era. It was a completely different conception of what an action movie was.
Yeah. And I think one problem that I had with Lois Lane, I brought it up earlier, was her misspelling every single word.
Yeah.
And it's just like, make her a little bit smarter than that.
Yeah, well, yeah. You're completely right. I kind of called you out a little bit on that, but it does make it seem like she's stupid at the gate when it's like, yes, you're right.
They're like, that's not how you spell that. And she's like, how do you spell massacre?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god, like you went to J school.
Yeah, you're right.
J school. Hey, shut up. Do you want to touch on Otis or anybody else?
We've spoken about Otis.
Yeah, he's a goofball.
Yeah.
He's a big old meatball.
He should have been eating a big thing of meatballs in this movie.
Yeah, that would have been great. Every scene.
All right. You want to rate and rank this movie?
I would love to. Out of 5 stars, where are we going to put Superman 1? We don't need to rank it, obviously, because
It's number
first.
one.
Yeah.
And it might stay there.
Out of 5. Let's go out of 5.
Ah, man.
Half-star ratings available.
I think I'm going to sit at a 4.
Oh, that's a little higher than I was going to go. For me, this is like a 3.25.
3.25.
A little under a 3.5.
I mean, Christopher Reeve, man.
I know, he's so good, but, I mean, the plot is so
That's
thin.
true. I'll go 3.5.
I was gonna give it a 3.
Yeah, that's about right. I'm putting it between a 3 and a 3.5.
Well, man, I thought you liked this movie better than I did. So how am I gonna?
What are we rating it against? I was rating it against like
Just itself.
all superhero movies.
No, yeah, I mean, you know how to rate a movie.
Right,
You
yeah,
know
no,
what-
exactly.
yeah.
Well, so like, yeah. I mean, if I'm comparing,
That's why I get mad when people are like, well, what's the rating system? You fucking know what movies are. You've seen movies. Out of 5. Not you. I'm not. This is an attack on you. I can feel you getting uncomfortable.
Are you yelling at me?
Yeah.
like the.
Get out of your apartment.
Well, you talked me down to it. I'm down to a 3.25, 3.
Okay, yeah.
Because
we
you're
go.
right. I mean, there was some real shitty. The movie ended very badly.
It ended weird, and the thing,
Luthor's plot was not
Luthor's
great.
plot stuff. I'm talking myself down to a 3. Yeah, I'm going with the 3.25.
I mean, if it's just. I mean, I'm giving Christopher Reeve like that.
Yeah, he's carrying a lot of them stars, guys.
Yeah, Reeve
And Donna.
And yeah, the
It's beautifully shot.
yeah.
Every
let's
shot is
see who the
beautifully
DP
constructed.
It was the same guy who did 2001.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That guy knows how to DP a movie.
He sure do.
Director of photography. So I don't think we have anything else, Matt. Make sure for everybody you rate and subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah, do that.
If you want to get a hold of us, email us upandawaypodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, Up and Away Show, all social media. Make sure you come find us. Tuesday, we're coming to you guys again with a Tuesday Newsday episode. It's
We
gonna
have
be a really
some
fun
big
time.
news.
Oh, it's going to be real good.
A couple of big ones.
Yeah, a couple
of big castings in the DCEU.
A couple of big castings, some TV show announcements, so it's definitely going to be a fun episode this Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then next Friday, we are watching Superman 2.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really fun. Our next...
Their tagline is Superman 2? Or is it just Superman 2?
not that I'm aware of. I think
We'll
you have the
still
thing right
believe
over
a
there
man
that you
can
can
fly.
see.
It's all the way over there.
No, the case is right there, though. You'd be able to see immediately to
Oh,
your
yeah.
left.
Oh, yeah.
For the next 3 weeks, we're going to be watching all the Superman movies. So it's Superman 1, 2, and then Superman 4, I know, is Quest for Peace.
It's just Superman 2.
Yeah, it's
and
right.
also Superman 3.
Yeah, and then Superman 4, Quest for Peace.
Yeah.
So that's what we're watching coming up before we switch over to something else. For all you guys, we'll see you guys up and away.
I'll be up